So, good afternoon. I, Priyanka Dhawan, extend a very warm welcome to our distinguished guest for the day, Professor Debashish Chatterjee, Director, IM Code, Dr. M.R. Das, Executive Director, Head of Human Resources and Marketing Division, IOCL, Dr. V.R. Menon, sir, Head of Learning and Development, Marketing Division, IOCL, and of course, all our participants who are eager to hear from Professor Dev Chatterjee on leadership and wisdom in uncertain times. Like Sir said, to take the program forward, let us listen to the Indian Oil anthem.
मेरा करम मेरा ईमान है, मेरी आन मेरी शान जान है। आधार देश की प्रगति का दुनिया में इतना सम्मान है। आगे बढ़ेंगे ऊंचे उड़ेंगे, हम सबका यही अभियान है। इंडियन ऑयल, इंडियन ऑयल, इंडियन ऑयल मेरी पहचान है। सबके हितों का संरक्षण हो, हर कार्य में नव परिवर्तन हो, हर दिल में भाव लगाव का हो, विश्वास वचन और कर्म का हो। आगे बढ़ेंगे ऊंचे उड़ेंगे, ये मूल्य मेरा अभिमान है, अभियान है, मेरी शान है। इंडियन ऑयल, इंडियन ऑयल, इंडियन ऑयल मेरी पहचान है। इंडियन ऑयल, इंडियन ऑयल, इंडियन ऑयल मेरी पहचान है।
Thank you all. And now it is my honor and privilege to introduce Professor Debashish Chatterjee, sir. Professor Debashish Chatterjee, Director, IM Code, is considered one of the top thinkers in India. Professor Chatterjee has been greatly successful in globalizing Indian thoughts as an author and as director of IM Code. He has been instrumental in the rapid growth of IMK, transforming it to a globally accredited institution with national impact. He played a crucial role in admitting over 50% women in the flagship postgraduate program, a feat that was accomplished twice by IMK and set a trend amongst the IIMs. Prior to this, IIMs had only witnessed 8 to 10% women students during more than 50 years of their existence. Professor Chatterjee is a distinguished academic and accomplished author, having taught at Harvard University and several Indian institutes of management, including Calcutta, Lucknow, and Kozhikode. He is a recipient of the prestigious Fulbright Fellowship twice for predoctoral and postdoctoral work at Harvard. Among his many literary accomplishments are 17 books, including Krishna, the Seventh Sense, Karma Sutras, Invincible Arjuna, and Timeless Leadership. Additionally, he has served as Dean of an international business school in Singapore and as an independent director on the boards of numerous multinational and Indian companies. Professor Debashish Chatterjee has won many accolades and awards, such as CSR Leading Director Award, Rotary Sake of Honor Award, Outstanding Director Award, All India Management Scholars, Bharat Asmita Acharya Shreshtha Award for the Best Teacher in the Field of Management by MIT World Peace University, Pune. He is also a member of the Reserve Bank of India, Appointment Board for Selection of Chairman of Nationalized Banks, and a member of the Appointment Committee, Chairman of IRDA. Like I said, he has written many books and also edited them along with others. And some of these books include Let's Learn, High-Tech People, High-Tech HR, Are We Missing the Humane Touch? HR and Leadership, Challenges for Businesses in India. I'm sure that everybody, all of us will find these books extremely interesting and will give us a lot of knowledge. Professor Chatterjee has also conducted leadership workshops for the entire Kerala cabinet when the chief minister was late Shri Umman Chandi. He has also conducted leadership workshop for British Petroleum in Azerbaijan and also conducted leadership consultancy. He's also undertook leadership consultancy for Ford Motor Company. Professor Chatterjee has, like I said, been greatly successful in globalizing Indian thought as an author and a director. So today we are going to talk about his book Karma Sutra. In his latest book, Karma Sutra, Leadership and Wisdom in Uncertain Times, Professor Chatterjee argues that karma is the amalgamation of thought and behavior patterns. Behavior patterns leave impressions on our mind, which shape our future course of action. So, in an uncertain world, we can't really be productive unless we figure out what karma is. So, it is indeed an honor and a privilege to have a great luminary such as yourself present in our midst. And on behalf of IOCL, we welcome you all. And to formally welcome you, I would now request Dr. V.R. Menon, sir, to kindly deliver the welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Kindly unmute, sir.
I said I'm so proud to bring him here because this has been a long dream cherished, and we have one of the highest viewership today, 627 already. I'm very sure it will cross 800. So formally to welcome him to the Mahaguru of Indian philosophical managerial philosophy, Dr. Prof. Debashish Chatterjee, Director IM Kozhikode, our beloved Executive Director HR, Dr. M.R. Das, and all my colleagues who have joined here today to hear him, my humble pranamam. Professor Chatterjee, with full heart, I welcome you today to today's talk on the theme of leadership and wisdom in uncertain times. In fact, I was earlier mentioning that I've been I've been wooing your senior executive secretary, Sojan, to organize this event for quite some time. Ever since I heard you talk in one of the programs for the government officials of Pondicherry, I think it was organized by Dr. Kiran Bedi. It was a beautiful program that I've seen. And ever since I was wanting that let our IOC colleagues also hear those great wisdom in management, ancient wisdom in management, which is coming from India. And we all are look at wonder in the last decades, in the last 1 decade or so. I mean, I think I understand that it is your third term, that you are transformed IMK into a world-class institution. And in fact, now IMK has now the third NIRF rank institute for the benefit of the participants. I'm stating this, overtaking IM Calcutta. Now, we are all got monotonous and boring with saying about talking about IM ABC, IM ABC. It had become so a ritual to talk about IM ABC. Like Arjun, you have broken it with your arrow, and now we can very gleefully say it is IEMK. I mean, there's a great achievement indeed. Yeah. So all officers may not be aware that you are also a great, apart from a voracious reader, you're also a prolific author. And some of the books, I mean, I also read the Timeless Leadership, which is 18 Sutras from the Bhagavad Gita. A wonderful book, which I had already mentioned earlier in my post. And for the benefit of participants, I strongly recommend that all our officers should read this book to get a new concept of management, deeply rooted in Indian philosophy. And therefore, since it is deeply rooted in Indian philosophy, there is a lot of contextual reference. So is another thing that we import the ideas from the West, which at many a time is not suitable for us. So this is the importance of this talk. And just one sutra I mentioned to you from his book. He writes, leadership is the art of undoing. Now it's a simple sentence, but it has got a lot of meaning. What he meant is that many a time our thought processes, it gets stuck. It's just like a ship which is anchored and we are not able to move. And he quotes a beautiful story elaborating this, and the ship is not moving. So this is our past anchored to our anchored to us, and we are not able to move. I have observed it several times, and I have another term for this is called the received wisdom, which I picked up somewhere else. We all normally think that our received wisdom is extraordinary; it has to be followed, but then the contextual relevance of that wisdom must have gone. So we have to remold it and then adjust to the future. So he says, Professor Chatterjee says that we need to critically examine whether what was right in the future, in the past, is going to be right in the for the future. Now, uncertain times are also approaching the oil sector. Now, the new challenges which is thrown at us, net zero challenges, in fact, they're already here. Uh, so we need, I mean, and our karma, oil industry's karma is inseparably linked to the climate change. We can't deny that. We cannot avoid the responsibility. Now, using his own words, decoding this karma of our past behavior and molding it to face the future challenges, especially those related to the environmental, social, and governance responsibilities, what we call as ESG. That is tremendous, and we should be up in arms for with our own bows and arrows like Arjun to face these new realities. And I also want to discuss, I'll use this point to also have to give my deep satisfaction, which I feel. In 2006, it was I who introduced Indian Oil to... Please mute, please mute. In 2006, I introduced IEM, Indian Oil to IEM Kozhikode for using a 2-day residential program for business associates. At that time, IEM Kozhikode, I think, was a 10-year-old child. Now, IEM Kozhikode has, you know, it has manifold increase is the in stature. IOC has also increased its stature manifold multiple times. IOC is now in the 94th rank, sir, in the global Fortune 500. And so it is something all of us can be proud of, a public sector holding 94th rank in global Fortune 500. So the great thing, I hope that both of us will flourish together and with our frequent engagement. And next month, we are going to have another training program at IEM Kozhikode on embracing ESG through responsible leadership. So, Professor, I thank you once again for accepting our invitation, and I am sure the talk will be a treat to our officers who are assembled here. Thank you, sir. And back to you, Priyanka.
Thank you, sir, for those kind and welcoming words. And Professor Debashish, sir, now it is the floor is yours, and we are eagerly waiting to hear from you. We are also receiving a lot of messages from our participants.
Dr. Das has to speak, then he can.
No, Dr. Vedan, I think we should not stand between now Professor Debashish and our audience. The number has already swelled to 780. With all my regards, I request Professor Chatterjee to take over.
All right. Okay. All right.
Dr. Amar Das, thank you for your generosity. And Dr. Menon, thanks for your persistence. Priyanka, that was quite a large introduction, but that's my past. It has nothing to do with who I am now and what I would be from now on in the future. And so, but I do appreciate your very kind words. We are looking at Karma Sutras as an orienting, if you look at why the book was called Karma Sutras, it is an orienting vision for people who think karma is fate. In simple language, if you look at the book, I'm presuming that you will get copies of this. The word karma means that which creates your context, the context for action. For instance, if I say that I drink coffee every day, and so I've acquired a coffee karma. So if I don't get my filtered coffee in the morning with this newspaper, my day seems to be lost. Now you have to figure out where is this coming from. When coffee karma is acquired through repeated habitual infusion of coffee every morning, you recognize that your body is used to a certain way of being in the morning, right? So coffee karma means that I have acquired the code for repeating a behavior with effortlessness. And so I don't have to make an effort to desire a cup of coffee. It has become part of my almost my DNA, right? So you have to understand that karma is nothing like, it's not esoteric. It is a very simple thing. So you start with your own identity. For instance, why are you like what you are? Why do you work in a certain manner? How do you wear your shoes in the morning? Why your left shoe goes first or your right shoe goes first? And all these you will see that there is a storehouse of memories within you. And those bio-memories actually enact what you might call everyday life. If you're not muted, some of you, please mute it because it is echoing on my ears. And so it is possible that you do not recognize the powers that come with, if you don't recognize the powers that come with constantly acting out of the stores of memories, our ancients call them vasanas. Vasanas are those deep storehouses of memories from where we desire a way of life. So we desire to have coffee in the morning, we desire to go to sit in a particular way, we desire to do a part of the work in our own way and not the other part of the work which we do not desire. And so we have this whole world of likes and dislikes based on what we are trained in terms of genetic. And now it's coming up that those memories, the storehouse of bio-memories, are causing the repeated actions that continue to inform us and inform our choices and decisions in life. So if I have to look at the frame through which we look at it, is just look at this slide called the Who of Leadership. I'm just going to present this slide to you. I hope it is visible to you. Just have a
It's visible, sir.
It's visible. You can see that. Now, just see what, in organizations, typically, what you're expected to do is you get results, right? You're asked to, you have a KPI, you have all kinds of formats through which your results are assessed. That we call the what of your work, the what of your work, okay? And then there's the process that you follow. There's a process that you follow to achieve the results. This could be called the how of the work. But there's another dimension behind the what and how, which could be defined as the who of work. Who is doing this work? And Western literature is very silent beyond the point on the who of leadership and the who of work. Because they're concerned about processes, they're concerned about the content of work, but they're not talking about the who of work. Now, if you ask us to define which is that who, then you see the who is the actual resource that gets expended at work. What is that resource? The resource is body, mind, intellect, BMI. Don't confuse this with biomass index. BMI is body, mind, intellect, as simple as that. What do you do with the body? What do you do with the body? What do you do with the body is essentially you perceive. Perception happens through the body. And what do you do with the mind? With the mind, which is the emotional part of the mind, you feel. You have feelings. And what do you do with intellect? You have thoughts. So you can look at the world that we experience. Our entire experiential world is nothing but objects, emotions, and thoughts. How do you understand? How do you perceive objects through the body? How do you perceive emotions through our feeling, that mind that feels? And how do you perceive thoughts through our intellect, buddhi? So these three are dimensions of our experience. So if you say the who of leadership is nothing but body, mind, intellect put together. But you may ask this question, so who runs this body, mind, intellect complex? Who's the one who's running it? So if you ask an athlete, how can you run in 10 seconds in 100 meters? That's phenomenal. How do you do that? Who does it? He said, look at my muscles. They're so well honed that through the muscular energy, I make my feet move. And my foot moves faster than anybody else in the world. So I get a gold medal for the fastest runner in the 100 meters dash. So he said, okay, I understand muscles are containers. Muscles don't create energy. Energy comes from the muscles from your nervous structure, nerves. So if your nerves collapse, the muscles will collapse also. He said, yeah, you have to ask my physio who trains me who will tell you how, and I get energy in the muscles. The physio tells him that, I train his body so that the nervous structure supplies energy to the muscles without any. So he has right kind of nutrition, he has right kind of exercise, right diets. So these muscles are functional. Then you ask the physio, nerves are only conductors of energy. Nerves are channels of energy. Nerves don't produce energy. So what produces the energy for the nerves to give it to the muscles? Then you have to ask his psychologist, because he has a sports psychologist who tells you how to. So psychologist says, I mentally prepare him for the day. So for the run. So I pep his mind up. So psychologically, I train him to run the race. So when his mind is in a state of high performing capability, this energy of the mind translates as nervous energy, which translates as muscular energy, which translates as a run. So look at the whole journey. So you go to the psychologist who tells you the mind is the source. From the mind, the nerves receive energy, and from the nerves, the body receives the energy, muscles receive the energy. Then you ask this question to the psychologist, but mind is only a container. Mind is a container. Through thoughts and emotions, I channel energy, but where do they originate? Who creates that energy? Then the psychologist will tell you, he goes to church every Sunday, and you ask him what he prays, what he does there. So he surrenders to something higher than his body, mind, intellect, and so that he can run a race well. What is this job? Why does he have to go there? Who is there? There's no answer to the question, who's there? Nobody knows who's that. But the speculation of who is behind body, mind, intellect was the rishis of the scientists of India. Before science became such a dominant force, it was the rishis who were the scientists. And then science took over, and everything that was not visible or tangible was relegated to superstition. But what science missed is that the rishis were fundamentally trying to answer the question the scientists were looking for. What was the question? The relationship between cause and effect. The relationship between cause and effect. So what you call karma is the effect. That I have a craving for coffee is the effect, but what is the cause? What is the cause? Then they came to a conclusion that behind every effect, these are the 3 laws of causation that the rishis talked about. Behind every effect, there must be a cause. Behind every effect, there must be a cause. There can be no smoke without fire behind it. It's very simple, nothing logical about it. The second law of causation said a singular cause can present multiple effects. Cause can be one, there can be multiple effects, like a seed producing multiple trees, right? A seed producing multiple trees, multiple leaves, branches, so one seed, right? So one cause may be the source behind multiple effects. And then the third law of causation said, and this is very important, don't forget that, if you take away the cause, nothing will remain. If you take away the cause, nothing remains. So suppose the ocean is the cause and the waves are the effect. You have many kinds of waves, trackers, you have, breakers, you have ripples, all kinds of waves in the ocean. But once you take the ocean away, what remains? Even the waves don't remain. So these 3 laws of causation were what the rishis were looking at. So they said, look, this body, mind, intellect are the effects. But what is the cause? The scientists have gone to a point of genetic codes, right? I was yesterday I was in the cancer hospital, MBA cancer hospital, and I asked them, what is the cause of cancer? Nobody knows. I said, tell me what is cancer? And then I understood through my readings and through my conversation, cancer is nothing but a traffic jam of cells. What is a traffic jam? One cell is using the brake or the accelerator too much and doesn't know where to stop. And so that cell proliferates, and the others are not able to, because the cellular jam, the high growth of one particular cell without concern for the others, is the cause of cancer, right? But what causes that selfish cell, to behave like that? In the organizational context, if you have a selfish leader right at the top, you can imagine what kind of traffic jam that will cause in the whole organization. Now, so they said that the ego, ahamkar, ego of the person, is what causes that cancerous thing in the organization. What is that ego? The ego says this body-mind complex, intellect complex is my creation. I am the cause. I am the cause. And in that, the ego makes the mistake of assuming a cause, whereas it is not the cause. And this is the problem. This is where it starts. So I say to myself, I am general manager, or I am director, or I am so-and-so of this organization. Well, are you the general manager, or the general managership has been given to you by the organization? Right? What is your actuality? Actuality is that you are nothing but a contribution of multiple forces. The shirt I'm wearing is a contribution from somebody who crafted it in Mumbai. The jacket I'm wearing is crafted in Delhi. The glasses that come from China. My brain comes from as a combination of causes. My students, my peer group, my teachers who taught me the language. So if you look at everything that I call me, is nothing but the effect of multiple sources from where I have cultivated myself. So if you look at your own identity, if you look at your own identity, then you will realize that it is possible to not yet. So if you look at your own identity, you will realize that identity is created by a repeated behavior of a particular cause-effect relationship that has become so ingrained in you that you've forgotten that you have another choice here, another way of acting, another way of doing. Because your amkar takes over and it assumes, and your ego assumes, that it is going to remain static forever. For instance, IndianOil, as I saw it 20 years back, will remain in the next 20 years. The relationship I had with my daughter or my son, as my son grows up, will remain the same as it was 20 years back. It will not. Our relationships will change. You see how our own kids behave when they grow up. My daughter grows up, but I don't grow up as a father. I just grow old. So I'm in a karmic state where my relationship with my daughter or my son remains more or less the same, although she has grown up. So I don't treat her as an adult anymore. You see my point? And so the relationships that undergo dynamic change in our lives, we don't change with times because we are caught in the karmic trap. Our repeated behavior is supported by the ego. So if you look at the body-mind complex, we look at the body-mind complex. Go to the next slide here. You see the next slide. We will look at the body-mind complex. The body-mind complex stays in place and repeats a behavior in a particular way because we are stuck. We are stuck because of our ego that says, okay, this is the only way to be. There's no other way. So if I ask you, for instance, what is the maximum speed you think somebody can work up on a bicycle? What is a motor or a bike? Okay, what is the maximum speed? Most of you sitting there will say, okay, 50 kilometers per hour, 100 kilometers per hour, 200 kilometers per hour. But if you look at the data today, the Guinness Book of Records is held by a person who's got about 280 kilometers per hour speed on a bike. You say, I can't imagine that. Why? Because your experience is 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers. You're limited by your own experience. Supported by your ego, you say, this is the maximum that can happen. So I went to Singapore and I asked, how long does it take for the Singapore Ports Authority to clear a full-size, middle-sized ship? They said, it takes for about 5 minutes. I said, it is impossible. 5 minutes, who can empty a whole ship? He said, they have a process through which they can do that. Now, it is beyond your experience. You cannot imagine somebody doing that, right? And so why you can't imagine? Because you're limited by your own experience, supported by your own ego, which makes you say, oh, idhar to nahi ho sakta hai, aur kahin ho sakta hai idhar, because you are caught in it. So we are caught like fish in water. We are caught in the trap of a force that we can't see. Now we have to step out of your ego zone to be able to see if you can make changes. So if you look at this slide, 4 dimensions of the human personality are the body, mind, intellect, and conscious. The body creates perception, the mind creates feelings, thinking comes from the intellect, and the last part, which is ingenuity, which is doing things in a different way, comes from a space which is not beyond the ego. So moment ego takes over, body, mind, intellect functions in a mechanical way, repeating the same thing over and over and over again. So organizations don't change. Things have changed organization because they are not able to see the larger world out there has changed dramatically. So what you call karma is essentially, Karma Sutra essentially, it's a repeated behavior in a particular context that we call karma. Your feeling, thinking, and acting follow a certain ritual. And so if you ask a Gandhi, the quintessential leader, and you ask him, how do you express your priorities in life? He says, it's not just words, but through my actions. Oh, I may say that I will lose weight, or I will take up something new, or I'll change my style of working. But it doesn't happen because your words do not match your actions. So if you want to say that I want to lose weight, what is the best way? For instance, if I would ask this group, what is the best way to lose 10 kgs of weight? You can give me some suggestions. What are the suggestions you can give me? Tell me. What are the solutions you can give me? I want to lose 10 kgs of weight. What solutions can come from you? You may say, well, you do some exercise, you eat less, you do a dieting, you do this, you do that. You can give me all kinds of advices, but eventually what will happen is that I can tell you there's only one way to lose them, not multiple ways. There's only one way, only one cause that will produce the effect of losing 10 kgs of weight. Only one cause. What is the cause? By losing 10 kgs of weight, I will lose 10 kgs of weight. By no other way. जब 10 kg घटेगा तभी मैं बोल सकता हूँ कि I have lost 10 kgs. Not by talking about it, not by thinking about it, not by perceiving it, but by actually doing it. Right? So when I started to write, I went to several people asking them, how do I write? I barely wrote until the age of 29. So a lot of authors told me a lot of advices, write in the morning, write in the evening, write whenever you have spare time. Don't write at night, write at this particular time. So write in a particular place. None of this worked until I met Khushbant Singh, who I asked, how do I write? He said, the only way to write, Debashish, is to write, no other way. Right? So Gandhi is saying, your actions represents your priorities, not your thoughts, not your words, not your vision statement. Your priorities is based on your action. So if you're actioning something, which simply means that if you're acting on a new idea, you'll obviously see that your actions will give you results that are different from the past. If your action includes, let's say, instead of having 3 meals a day, just have 2 meals a day. Immediately your body will get feedback. That, what about 3 meals a day? You're used to 3 meals a day. It'll try and pull you back to your past karma. But you have to force the action through it, and then you'll get a result, right? So great leaders understood how to break the debt of karma. They said, actions, Gandhi said, action expresses your priorities. So what is the first thing that you want to do, in the world of action? The first thing is that the desire is the first starting of life. So you look at your desire, what you deeply desire. This desire is a primary impulse for living. When the energy of desire works purely at the physical and mental level, it is regulated by a control mechanism called vasanas that I made a reference to. What is vasana? Vasana is storehouse of karma in the form of bioenergy. You can call it, for lack of a better expression, you can call it your DNA. You can call it your DNA. And so what we are saying is, the ability to differentiate between what we desire and what is really desirable for us in organization is to be able to break the habit of karma. See, there are 2 types of leaders. The first follow the path of desire, and the second will follow the path of the desirable. As a wit once remarked, the second type of leaders serve as the pillars of the organization, those who work in the path of the desirable, while the first type serve as caterpillars. What does that mean? It means that if you continue to desire something that is not desirable, then you will end up destroying the organization, right? And so the new generation will see attitudes shifting from egocentric managerial world towards an ecocentric, purposeful business. Reducing the ego to zero helps us to progress from egocentric personality to what we may call cosmocentric individuality. So if you have to be a global, you're already a Fortune 100 company, right? And your footprint should be in the world. So you are an organization that has to look at climate change, that has to look at multiple changes that are impacting your industry. Now, if your ego is stuck in the past, this is how you used to do 20 years back, and I'm going to do it in the same manner, you'll get stuck. Where will you get stuck? You'll get stuck in the habits of the past, in the karmic debt of the past. How do you break that debt? This is exactly how cancer cells break. You look at the cancer hospital and say, how do the how is the cancer treatment done? So the cancer treatment done is either chemotherapy, radiology. So imagine the ancient rishis of India said there is one major way of breaking the ego's hold on you. What is that? Through a radiation of selfless service and chemotherapy of love. We are going to come to these two things. What is radiation of selfless service? Nishkam karma, that breaks the hold of your ego. How will Nishkam karma break the hold of your ego? Suppose you come to office in the morning with a note, 5 things I want to do for somebody else in the office without expecting a return on my investment. Without ROI, I'm going to do some service to somebody and not wait for any benefit for myself. You know what it will do to you? It will simply change the excessive thoughts that you have in your head called I. What is in it for me? Mere liye kya hai? Mere kya fark padta hai? So these are questions that are coming from the ego's trap. And so once you know how to break it, the only way to break it is to remove the preoccupation of the I. So much so that you don't even have time to think of I. Your action will be of a kind, your actions will have an impact that will be unimaginable. And we have seen countless people who have done that. Look at Nipun Mehta. This man used to experiment all the time, and he was working with Sun Microsystems. And he was crossing a traffic signal one day on his way to office, and he saw behind him was a car. A person was very restless. He was honking all the time, and he wanted to go ahead. But there was a small lane, so he couldn't go ahead. And Nipun realized that he was getting late for office. His boss would probably scold him. So what did Nipun do? He told the toll booth person, I'm paying for him as well. Just let him go. Don't detain him. And give him this card. And he had a card that said, pay it forward. Pay it forward means you don't have to pay me back. You do another good turn for somebody else. Don't worry about your name and all that. The card had no name, only that said pay it forward. And Nipun built an empire of 1 million followers based on pay it forward. People wanted to come to him. People wanted to do that because this selfless self is our nature, is our true nature. The selfless self is our true nature. See, mother wanting to give birth to a child is a selfless self. It's a painful process. It is inside our nature. It is our reality. And that reality is hidden by the ego. जैसे आसमान में बादल छा जाते हैं, वो ego is, every time you go to a new place, you become generous, your mind opens up. See, that selfless self hides within yourself. Only way you can activate the selfless self is to remove the constant chatter of I in your head. And the best way to do it, radiation of selfless service. This is called Karma Yoga by some people, right? What is Karma Yoga? Connecting your body, mind, intellect to a reference point beyond the ego. I am Kozhikode. How did it do so well? Well, we had a vision in 2012. I created a vision statement called 2047. I put a coffee table book right in front of my professors, and I said, look, this is a book that I have created. Our vision is to what should we stop doing? As Dr. Ramachandran said rightly, that, he said, what should we undo? So that the institution remains relevant in 2047. And we had a series of things we would stop doing. We were breaking the karma of the past of the other IIMs. Where IIMs were stuck in one postgraduate program, we said we'll have 4 new programs: MBA in Liberal Studies, MBA in Finance, MBA postgraduate program in Business Leadership 1-year program, and a PhD for practice track professionals who can't find time to do full-time academic work. All the 4 programs were out in the market and they succeeded. It was impossible for an IIM to do 4 new programs because we are very successful doing what we did. And that built our ego as though this is the only way to do it. There was 8 to 10% women in the IIM system for 50 years. Percentage of boys, girls as opposed to boys was only 8 to 10% for 50 years. In 2013, we changed the batch. The batch of 2013 IIM Kozhikode were 54% women, flagship MBA program. And I got a lot of criticism for it, but the entire IIM system had to change. All 20 IIMs now look for more gender diversity. Right? Why? Because that's what corporates are looking for, gender diversity. That's what the country is looking for. So we did many things to break the chain of the IIM karma. Multiple things. We brought inclusion, we brought digitization, we brought new programs for the market. and others had to follow because there was no choice, absolute no choice. So what did you do? You tilted the entire business ecology, just going beyond the ego of the past. What is the past? Past is saying, oh, IIMs are the best, people will come here anyway. We were seeing a trend that there were other choices. They had National Law School, they could do design. Not everybody wanted to come to management. We had to make management attractive for liberal arts students. Management was synonymous with, if you're not mathematically able, you can't do management program. That was not right. People who are from liberal arts do rather well. So we broke and we said 2047. So how about 2047? Because 2047 created a vision beyond our ego. 2047 ना तो मैं रहूंगा ना जो vision बनाए वो रहेंगे. फिर भी 2047 का vision का क्यों जरूरत है? इसीलिए कि that goes beyond our ego's reach. I'll not be there. जब मैं ना रहूं तो कैसे दुनिया चल सकता है? मैंने खुद को मैं इक्वेशन से बाहर निकाल दिया. अभी ऑफिस में आएंगे तो देखेंगे हमारा नेम प्लेट के नीचे अपना नाम नहीं है. 5 साल से मैं किसी का नाम नहीं लगाया. चीफ डायरेक्टर एक डिजिग्नेशन तो है लेकिन नाम नहीं है. अपना नाम मिटा दीजिए, फिर देखिए कितना आसान हो जाता है. लोग गाली भी देंगे तो आपको लगेगा नहीं, क्योंकि नाम से ही गाली न देता है लोग. People might say केशव, you're smiling. अब आपको आन शान मैंने बक दिया कि मेरा नाम केशव है नहीं. मेरा नाम कुछ भी हो सकता है. मेसो हो सकता है, ब्रूसली हो सकता है. So why are you so addicted to the name? A name is given to you as a label from the outside. Why are you addicted to your designation? So once you adopt this extraordinary mechanism through which you break your ego's hold on you, your world will open up to multiple possibilities you cannot imagine. And what happened to 2047 book? इत्तेफाक से मैंने सबको भेजा था वो किताब, all chief ministers of the country, prime minister of the country, and president, chief justice. 2 chief ministers responded. Mamata Banerjee from Bengal, Narendra Modi from Gujarat. Both wrote appreciative letters for the book. After 10 years, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Education says, sir, can we help us? I said, secretary to sir nahi bolta hai director ko. Kya problem hai? They said Prime Minister's office has called a meeting of 8 secretaries. They wanted a vision 2047. And you wrote a book. We sent it to him 10 years back. He still remembers. He wants you to craft a vision. We'll pay you for it. I said, वो तो करना ही पड़ेगा. बिना पेमेंट में आए में तो कुछ होता ही नहीं, आपको पता है. But anyway, I will give you a report in my own time. He said 31st March. I said, I don't report to your cabinet secretary. I report to my intellectual base, which is students and faculty. But nevertheless, we produced a report. 2047. You know what has happened to the report? It has become now a rallying cry from the Lal Killa. That word, that expression, 24. Every district magistrate is given a brief that they should have a vision for 2047. What happened? Why did we get this kind of attraction? We got it because the idea was to remove the institutional ego, the personal ego of the director, from a vision that was all-embracing. So what is true about 2047? 100 years of independent India and 20 years of IIM Kozhikode, same year. We'll be 50 and independent India will be 100. Imagine what might happen. Now we are starting a school called 2047, a school for the future, K-12 school. So what I'm saying is that Karma Yoga is not such an exotic idea. It is simply from your body-mind complex, which operates very efficiently. Body, mind, intellect operates very well. The only inefficiency comes in when the ego comes in. If you know how to remove that ego's hold on you, you will be able to generate 10 times more energy through the body. And this is what the rishis did. I mean, they were scientists as much as any scientist is. Imagine you had no ego, you could fit into any role, anywhere. You could do anything you wanted. And I have seen such people. I was invited by Mr. Narayan Murthy for his son's marriage. I went there. And when I entered, I realized after 2 hours of flying, and then another 2 hours of driving through Bangalore city, I land in Leela Hotel. And then I realized I'm in a queue behind 200 people. And Mr. Narayan Murthy is standing on stage with his son and the bride and the bridegroom, and I'm standing in a queue to greet them. I said, what kind of country was I born in? Why should I come here and stand in a queue? I'm not a nobody. Should Narayan Murthy not come and fetch me? मैं वापस जाता हूँ. ये सोच के मैं घूम के देखा, मेरे पीछे क्यू में और कुछ लोग खड़े हो गए. मेरे पीछे 10 लोगों के बाद मैं देखा किसको, अजीम प्रेम जी, विप्रो. That year, they were the richest persons of the world. He's standing behind me in the queue. I said, Azim Premji standing behind me? That's interesting. Then I saw, was it really Azim Premji or somebody else? So I looked again, I said, behind Azim Premji is Kiran Majumdar Shah, Biocon, chief of Biocon. So I said, oh, this is how democracy should be. So where was the ego? If you can remove the ego, if you remove the ego from the equation of who you are, you see you can get a lot more work done with a lot less difficulty. Not less difficult. When your son comes back from school, he says, ask school kaisa gaya tumhara? Did I ask you? Tumhara office kaisa gaya? Son will bark at you. Immediately you get upset. What kind of a son is this? ऐसा कोई behave करता है अपना पिताजी के साथ? Because the ego is hurt, right? But you see, you examine how you addressed him in the first place as a commander-in-chief, as though you control his life. So he's upset. He's become an adolescent. He wants you to be a mentor, not a tormentor. So the exchanges we have with our own children, with our own spouse, with our own subordinates. आप जरा देख लो आप कैसे बातचीत करते हैं उनके साथ कहाँ से आपका ego उत्पन्न होता है once you know how to tame it your options will open up multiple ways okay so we are looking at power and authority and this is a very important issue this as well we'll show you a slide we're looking at the NPAs of leadership from Karma Sutras. What are the NPAs are non-performing most of you will say assets but I will say assumptions. अगर नॉन परफॉर्मिंग है तो एसेट्स कैसे बन सकता है ये सिर्फ assumption है what are the three non-performing assumptions in terms of power play in the organization one is you say leadership is position I'm saying leadership is not position leadership is disposition you say leadership is expertise I will say leadership is not expertise it is flexpertise if you say leadership is authority I will say it is not authority it is influence. How come? So if you look at power and authority in the organizational context, power is the capacity to do work. Simply the capacity to do work and get the work done through others. This is power. Power is internal to you. It is something that grows from within you. Authority is, on the other hand, external. It is what an organization or an institution gives you from the outside. Whereas power is associated with human capacity, authority is associated with organizational structures, rules. Those with authority are not necessarily leaders. You may have authority, but you're not a leader. Authority doesn't give you leadership. You must know how to apply power even beyond authority. Otherwise, authority will give you nothing. So the point is, authority is about reinforcing structure and stability. Leadership, on the contrary, is about changing structures and challenging established authority. Deep change requires sustained and distributed power greater than what can be sanctioned by a single authority. Look at Wikipedia and encyclopedia, how encyclopedia is to establish authority. But Wikipedia challenged it by crowdsourcing. What happened to encyclopedia? Their authority was gone. Why? Because you are authorized by only a handful of people to write in Wikipedia, in encyclopedia. Wikipedia was crowdsourced, not that Wikipedia is doing everything right. But the fact is that the authority of one particular, the hegemony of encyclopedia, remember Encyclopedia Britannica, was challenged seriously by another source of power. So authority will shift because management is about position, leadership is about disposition, which goes beyond position. Managers minimize risks, leaders maximize contribution. Managers work through structures of stability, leaders work through dynamic change. Managers are defined by their position, leaders can emerge from any position. Look at expertise that you have. Just to give you an example, you are the finance minister of Singapore, and you're declaring the budget of Singapore. And you're saying, as a result of my budget, this is the allocation for the budget, that is the allocation for the budget, this is the percentage going to defense, this is going to education. Instead of that, what the Singapore's finance minister says is, look, as a result of my budget, Mrs. Lee, who used to buy 100 kgs of rice from Orchard Road and take a public transportation to bring it to Clementia residence for the same price, she can afford 120 kgs of rice. And she can take a taxi as a result of this budget instead of a public transport. Now, Mrs. Lee understands what the budget means for her because the language that the finance minister uses is a language that touches the heart and experience of the person. So expertise in presenting a budget is converted into flexible expertise, which is called flexpertise. You get my point? So leadership is not expertise, it is flexpertise. It is not position, it is disposition. Somebody is polishing your shoes in Ahmedabad railway station and is carrying an English version of Times of India. So in Hindustan में जो जूता पॉलिश करता है वो इंग्लिश पढ़ नहीं सकता. ये तो लॉजिकल है. How can somebody who can read and write in English can polish shoes? So you go to him, आपको इंग्लिश आता है? नहीं सर. तो क्यों इंग्लिश टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया कैरी करते हो? तो सर जिसका जूता पॉलिश करता है वो बोर्ड हो जाता है, इसीलिए मैं टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया दे देता हूँ. उनका दिल बहल जाता है, टिप भी मिलता है मुझे. He himself does not know how to read, but he keeps a copy of that for the customer who require it. So flexpertise means your own expertise. You add on a dimension so that it serves the last mile customer in a manner that the customer feels valued. Customer feels that, there's something unique about that experience. You see my point? You go to Japan, you eat in a restaurant, and when you go to a restaurant and you have not finished your drink or your food, they'll say, sir, we'll preserve this until the next time when you come, you can begin from the same place without having to pay anything extra. You're most welcome. So they'll freeze your drink. They'll freeze your food in a park. So you come back after a month, they'll give you the same quality of food, the same quality of drink. So they want you back. So the point I'm trying to make is that it is possible that we look at expertise in a very straitjacket. You have to make expertise available to a large number of people. Finally, leadership is not about authority. Authorized leadership is a very minimum kind of leadership. If I had to ask you, who's more powerful, the Defense Minister of India or the personal secretary to the Prime Minister of India? The answer is obvious. Why? Authority of Defense Minister is much greater, right? But the influence of the personal secretary will be much greater. Why would it be so? Because influence does not follow authorized channels. Influence does not follow authorized channels. So if you have to succeed in the world of reality beyond your karmic orientation in the organization, you have to move from position to disposition, from expertise to flexpertise, from authority to influence. We go to the next one. We go to the next slide. Yeah. So one of the aspects of leadership is about, change. No. Change. Yeah. So this is a model that will be very important, decoding culture and change. Why don't we change? Why organizations that are successful don't change? If you look at photographs of people before 1945, it will be something interesting. People did not smile at all. There was no smile. There was no smiling photographs. Very, very serious face. Anything before 1945. So researchers started researching. What is the reason people never smiled in those photographs? They're very serious and grim. जितने भी photo मिलता था बहुत serious. Heads of states, normal families. Then they realized that dental hygiene was not that good. So people didn't want to show their teeth. But that research also failed because sometimes dental hygiene was very good. Still they did not smile. So they said, what could be the reason? Then they realized that it was culture that drove the way photographs of people would stand in photographs. The culture was smiling is only for low-class people. Upper class don't smile. Lower class daan nikal ke hasta rehta hai. So smile mein haso mat. That was the orientation to photograph. What? Because the culture that said lower class smiles, upper class don't smile in photographs, was the basis of the cultural code, which was the basis. This was the karmic code, which prompted the behavior called not smiling. You see what culture means? Culture is like electricity. You don't see electricity, but if you violate the rules of electricity, you will get a shock. So culture is something that stays in the organization like a organizational karma. And it continues to run the organization by default, unless somebody attempts to change the culture. And it's not easy to change the culture. When I was appointed for director of IIM Lucknow's post, the person who appointed me for the job, E. Sridharan of Metro Rail, asked me a question. The question is, what if I was to argue that you're too young to be given the leadership of IIM Kozhikode? I was in my early 40s then, first time as director. I said, sir, you don't give leadership. Leadership has to be earned through a change in culture. Leadership cannot be given by you. So the next question, he says, what is your vision for IIM Kozhikode? I said, sir, I'm in a guest house where the kettle doesn't boil water properly, where the sofa creaks and the door doesn't shut fully. So if I were to take charge as director, I'll make them work. I did not know who Sridharan was, but I knew later that he was the chairman of the interview panel, and he gave me the job. And then I realized that the culture change was not such an easy thing to do. During monsoon, there'll be a lot of dirt piled up on the road. So one day he came back after 4 years with Sridharan, and he saw me picking up chewing gum from the road, leading to the director's office. And he said, look, it is not the director's job to pick up chewing gum, but if you have done it, it simply means why the campus remains so clean in the middle of monsoons. You come to a campus in Kozhikode, you'll see a mini Singapore here, not a speck of dust, and everything working with clockwork precision. How does it happen? Because somebody has to constantly model the culture change, and it doesn't happen automatically. How do you change culture of cost, looking at cost? Dhirubhai Ambani looked at a postcard and he showed the postcard to his people. He said, look, the day Reliance can make the phone call cheaper than a postcard, we have got the Indian market. So that was the culture shift. So culture shift will have to depend on some very, very strategic ways of breaking the karmic code of the organization. The collective karma is to say that phone calls must be expensive. Dhirubhai Ambani walked the other way. People said IIMs have to be exclusive for fortresses of knowledge. We went digital in 2001. We spread executive education like we are doing now with you. Because geographically, we were isolated in Kozhikode, small town. If I have to go to a meeting called by a minister in Delhi, I had sometimes to fly through Dubai to reach Delhi earlier, because that is the only connection available. So imagine we had no choice but to go digital. So we broke the karmic code of the IIM system, which was exclusive fortress of knowledge. People would come. So people coming to IIM starting going to you, like I'm going to you, multiple parts of India. We were the first institution in India of this stature to digitize, taking the digital form of executive education. And we have arrived, because this is our highest growth story, this program. And so if I want to conclude from here, because my time given was 2:30, so what I'll do is I will take only the last segment, which is on silence, which is on communication, how leaders communicate. Go to 5 slide, the last one, communication. Go to this slide. That's it. And here also you go. Okay. No, go there. Beyond, below. Take it. So how do you communicate the deepest of your intent, which is not something that is easy to communicate? And very often, leaders don't learn to listen. Before you communicate, you have to learn to listen to what you're trying to communicate to yourself. Mahavir, which is a great sage of India, he talked about the way of the Shravakas. Who's a Shravaka? Shravaka would be somebody who would learn through listening alone. See, Indian tradition was far more democratic. Indian tradition was oral in nature. You think digitization is democratic. Digitization is the most undemocratic principle. To approach somebody digitally, you have to have the following. You have to have electricity, you have to have a screen, you have to have a computer, you have to know how to upload a computer, you have to know how to move a cursor. And 90% of India doesn't have all of this. So if you're thinking that you're in a democratic space, you're not. Before television came, there was this radio, and we listened through radios, through our ears. And ears are always open 24/7. You could communicate to people through the spoken word, and they did not need anything except their ears. Even commentary भी हम सुनते थे borrowed radio में. किसी पान की दुकान के सामने होके भाई साहब स्कोर क्या है? So you could get the information without having to buy any device. Just your ears have to be open. Now what has happened is Shravaka, that art of knowing how to listen. Most of India's greatest of literature was called Shrutis. Shrutis were heard. Shrutis were heard. And Smritis were memorized. But Shrutis were the basis of... So listening like language is more than one dimension. Firstly, there's the dimension of the factual. You're listening to facts. At that level, language is merely a statement of fact. Sir, as project production, aisa hua hai. So you try and check facts. Somebody who's reporting facts says, how many defects per 1,000? So he says, per 1,000, sir, 2.4 on March 1, 2.5 on March 2, 2.7 on March 5. In the whole month of March, nothing below 2, nothing above 5. I said, ऐसा भी होता नहीं कि 0 defect हो कभी? हाँ सर, ऐसा भी होता है. ऐसा नहीं होता कि 25 defect हो जाए 1000 में. हाँ, वो भी होता है. So why are you moving between 2 and 5? He said, sir, 2 के नीचे आता है तो बॉस बुलाता है. 5 के ऊपर जाता है, बॉस बुलाता है, डांटता है. तो इसीलिए मैं वो नॉर्मल रखता हूँ, मैं रिपोर्ट भी करता हूँ ऐसे. So facts don't speak everything. You understand that? Facts don't speak things. आपका promotion आप देख लीजिए. When you do a promotion of a person, you have so many columns, team building skills, leadership skills, analytical ability, whatever. And you have so many points are given and then you get a marks. I mean, that's not how promotions are done. You first decide whom to promote and then you fill up that form. Because you don't care about facts, you care about something deeper than facts. So what is deeper? Dimension of the fact. See, facts mat suniye. You have to listen behind facts. You have to listen to the intent, the dimension of the intentional. What is the intent behind the fact? What is this person wanting to say? Sir, इस बार मेरा promotion नहीं हुआ. अरे तुम्हारा क्या हुआ? मेरा सुनो. मेरा भी नहीं हुआ था promotion. He has not come to you for promotion. He also knows you can't give him promotion. He has come for emotion, not promotion. So the intent is to share his emotions with you. If you just said, I'm so sorry to hear that, तो मेरे जगह होते तो क्या करते? मैं कुछ करना चाहता था, लेकिन क्या कर सकते हैं? आप ही बताओ. And stuff like that. So you get him into conversation, into the factual. So intentional. What is the intention behind the fact? And then there's a third dimension of language called the transformational. By speaking and listening in such a way, you can transform the other. How do you transform a person? Your listening becomes so deep that the person feels completely relaxed and comfortable in your company. In short, you have to understand how do you speak and listen with the depth of silence. What is silence? Can I take 5 more minutes to finish this? Is that okay? All right. What is silence? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has asked this question by Arjun. Who are you? Coming back to our question, who you are. Who are you? Krishna says, I am the Himalayas among mountains. He's saying, I'm the highest among everything. And then he says, I am silence among languages. Now, what is silence among languages? Why is language silence such a powerful thing? Have you ever thought of that? What is silence? You realize silence is the state of consciousness in which the whole world operates, whole universe operates. The sun and the Mars and the Neptune, Pluto, they don't operate through verbal language. Most of the human communication happens in silence. Words are only the surface of it. So when I'm talking to you, I'm breaking a column of air through my vibration. My lips are moving in a particular way under the impact of an intention or a thought. And lips vibrate the column of air. The column of air hits the receiver here, and the receiver transmits it through space, cyberspace, and it hits your eardrums, the same vibration. And your eardrums start vibrating the same frequency, picking up the intelligible rhythm of sound spoken in the English language with a slight Bengali accent. And when it hits your eardrums pick up this same vibration. It converts this into language. But you will see the whole process is happening in silence. There's like a blackboard on which you're writing with a white chalk. Or like music that you're composing. Music is vibrating, but in between music, there are pauses, there's silence. Music makes sense only because of the silence. If it was continuous sound, there'll be no music, right? And so you'll see the silence that operates with you, within you, through you, between you, around you, is something that you have to cultivate. Therefore, our greatest scientists were called Munis. Munis come from the word mauna. They were quiet. Not just verbally quiet, mentally quiet. How do you achieve mental quietness? When the I and preoccupation with your ego ceases, you'll become quieter. You become quieter. Just after you get up from sleep, you see mind is very calm. Why is it calm? When you go to sleep, you go to deep sleep, your ego dissolves. Between you and Barack Obama, there is no difference. Obama doesn't know in deep sleep who he is. You also don't know who you are. When you get up from bed, all the memories come back. So when you get up from bed, your ego is completely in a state of fluidity. It is not formed yet. So you acquire, you get that calmness. You have deep sleep. That's a state to be in. When you're listening to a person with that, silence is the womb of language. Silence conceives, prepares, and gives birth to language. Just as the noisy surface of the sea is held together by the vast, unruffled depths of water, silence integrates language into meaning and understanding. What silence itself is, we don't know. Krishna says, I am silence among languages. So I composed a little poem for you called The Power of Silence, on silence. And Pandit Vishwamohan Bhatt and I put this together in Mumbai in a studio, and you listen to that and we'll end with it. If there are questions after that, I can take a few. Otherwise, fine. Go ahead.
Yes, I mean, really, it was really nice hearing from you. I mean, and I can say that this is, I mean, maximum attendance. We had to keep some people outside. Our limitation was 1,000 officers, but then we overshot it. So we had to keep somebody outside also. So there are some, yeah.
Questions? Can we just play this silence thing and then you can take the questions?
Yes. Okay, yeah, all right.
Okay, go ahead. It's there, no? Then the mother of a deaf girl with muted sorrow in her eyes said, "Tell us about silence." Ananda waited for the murmur of the eucalyptus leaves to whisper its last secrets to the hills. He seemed absorbed in a wordless conversation with himself. He seemed absorbed in a wordless conversation with himself. As he said, silence is the womb of all that is spoken and heard. Silence is the flow of the river of intelligence. Like river banks, words are mere interruptions of this flow. Silence is the unspoken truth of the universe. Words are at best masks that embellish the face of truth with their many devices. The forlorn lover sitting on the edge of the river pines for a lost love in dumb despair. Only numbing silence, only numbing silence, only numbing silence, only numbing silence. Connects heart with heart. In silence, In silence, words return to their essence just as noisy rivers merge with the ocean. Through words, one becomes many. In silence, many return to the one. In silence, creation happens. The master in us has created a house called the universe. Words, we knock at the door of this house. In silence, the chest of treasure is flung open. Speak, but do not stand in the way of the music of silence. Your words are useless without the music. The original voice of life is silence. All other noises of the world, all other noises of the world, all other noises of the world, all other noises of the world are mere echoes. Just as through 26 alphabets you can create million books, through silence you can create million ways of speaking. That's the core. That's to know more about it. My team is going to share with you my LinkedIn ID later on, and you can always look into my posts on leadership. But here, if there are a couple of questions, I'm happy to take them. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. So we'll have a few questions from the audience. So I'll start off with one question I had. I listened to you once during one talk, or I think in a book or something, I really don't recollect. But you are mentioning about the clarity of thought, and you explained this with the case of Arjuna aiming his arrow to the eye of the parrot, and he was not able to see anything else, only the eye of the parrot, and that was his vision, and that was his focus and clarity of thought. I really appreciate that point. But my question is, in organizations, we many a time see people focused on certain targets, and with a tunnel vision, with a peripheral vision loss, so they are not able to see the wider impact of those targets. For example, I'll take the case of Dieselgate, the Wells Fargo scandal. Many scandals were the focus was on specific targets, maybe share price or something else, and because of which they are not able to see, and which creates a lot of havoc in the society. So your point of Arjuna seeing that eye of the parrot, I will compare with the hunter-Jara's killing of Krishna. We saw only the feet. If he had a wider, did not have a tunnel vision, probably he would have seen Krishna lying and he would not have killed him. So how do you this contradiction? How do you explain this contradiction?
Well, this is you need to explore rather than explain. So look, the whole thing called concentration or tunnel vision focus is comes from ekagrata. What is ekagrata? You take the body, mind, intellect complex. Ekagrata means that you are able to hold your mind in a particular action or a thought or an idea for a sustained length of time. Ekagrata is possible for anybody. A robber is ekagra about robbing. So he is going to be much better. If you look at a pickpocket in Calcutta, he knows how to pick your pocket without you knowing a trace of it. His ekagrata is so deep. You know how pickpockets are trained? They are given a watermelon and they put a wet cloth on the watermelon. I said you have to cut the cloth without a scratch on the watermelon. That kind of precision, that kind of focus they need. So focus has many dimensions. Ekagrata or concentration has many dimensions. One dimension is when your body-mind is constantly at a certain thing, to the exclusion of everything else. This is called dhyana, dhyan. The next step of focus is called dharana, when you have to be able to hold that focus for a sustained length of time, not just ordinary focus. So dharana is fluidity, flow of focus for a sustained length of time. When in the stage of dharana, you're driving a car, you're focused right in front, but you're also aware of people on the sides, through the rear view mirror, you can see who's coming behind you. Or somebody is reading a James Hadlich's novel in Mumbai railway station. While he's reading the novel, enjoying it, but his peripheral focus is also on the announcement. Fast Virat local, when it is going to come, she's going to get into the train. So dharana is a second, deeper level of focus. So in dharana, you are aware of your surroundings, you have peripheral vision, but you have focal vision too. So it's a bifocal capability. You develop people who are focusing, let's say jugglers. You ask jugglers, how do they juggle so many balls together? He said their original focus is only one ball or two balls, but their peripheral vision is also attuned. So this is called dharana, the second level of focus. So first is dhyana, there is dharana, and the third is called dhyana, dharana, samadhi. Samadhi means that you're so absorbed in the context that you understand what you're focused on. You understand not just the focal point, not just the peripheral point. Your understanding is deep in terms of where you become one. Samadhi means that you become so deeply enmeshed in your context. So you understand the context and the larger context around the context. This is called being in, and samadhi is not such an extraordinary thing. We all get into samadhi. Samadhi is nothing but the raw energy, which is not confined to one focal point, which is all pervasive. Look at the Siberian birds who come to our campus in Kozhikode. There are 500 odd birds, species of birds that come here. They come from Siberia to Kerala, and they can go back without any navigation system. How do they do that? Because they are in samadhi. Samadhi means that your ego is not interfering with your focus. So before Arjun came and saw the eye of the parrot, Duryodhan was called by Drone, and Drone said, "Duryodhan, what do you see there?" Duryodhan says, "Oh, I see a river behind. I see something, and I see him scratching his chest. Yudhishthira, nothing to do. I also see something that looks like a bird. Don't say you go away, because you neither have dhyana, nor dharana, nor samadhi." So Arjun is hitting the eye of the bird through a mechanism. He looks at the eye of the fish through a reflection, but his original goal is eye of Draupadi, not eye of the fish. But he has kept eye of Draupadi out of that context, although that is his original goal. His larger goal is that. But he's not lost, unlike other princes. They're not lost in their focal point coexists with the peripheral, coexists with the transcendental. This is called samadhi. So deeper your focus. And samadhi is nothing extraordinary. People go into samadhi, deep sleep state. Every day you go into that. These are only names given to different levels of focus. So your focus is so deep that you are aware of like a great tennis player. He's aware of everything, Ricky Ponting was asked this question. He was a great batsman. See, how come you scored, you bisect every field with your shots? He said, people see fielders, I see only gaps. I'm able to see gaps in my field. The great batsmen who have peripheral vision, focal vision. So the ability to cultivate your ekagrata may start with one thing, but if it gets stuck in only one thing, you will not be able to go to samadhi. So you have to understand deeper levels of focus. Which means what? Which means you have to get involved in bringing that. You have to know how to unfocus, how to refocus. From this to that, the transition from one, most managers work in multiple stimulus environments. So they have to move from talking to the boss to talking to subordinates. They should not lose focus in the next venture. So to be able to do that, you need to be in samadhi, because samadhi means how to switch focus without necessarily being disturbed. See, somebody, when you're meditating, somebody's hammering on the wall. You say, "Hey, he's disturbing me." I mean, who's disturbing you? You are disturbing yourself, because you are receiving that stimulus. If you stop receiving it, so you know how to change focus. Shifting focus from one to the other at will. How do you shift focus at will? Is samadhi. That's what it is. I hope it is clear.
Yes. So the only thing is that the business has a long way to go to arrive at the position of samadhi.
No. Honestly, I have seen business people. I have seen business people who can talk to 10 people at the same time and not lose focus on anything. I have seen Sam Pitruda, the man behind telecom. He's listening to a farmer, he's listening to a technocrat. He says, look, when I'm listening to a farmer, he takes 30 minutes to deliver a 30-second message. He's going round and round. Meanwhile, another technocrat wants to speak to me. How do I listen to both without losing focus on any? So this is a matter of practice. If an ordinary juggler in a circus can do it, you and I can do it with ease. We are much more capable. Just that we haven't invested in it. If you do it, you will know. See, first thing in the morning, my first 30 minutes in the morning, I don't move my head from a computer screen unless I've written 250 words. No 250 words, no breakfast. That's my focus. So I don't move my head. And I also have breakfast because, without that 250 words, I would not have written 17 books I've written. And so every day I have a discipline. So that is going to give you depth, that will give you easiness. You can move out of that at will. Anyway, I thought I'll give you some examples. That's it.
Right. So, I mean, there are so many 30 questions, but I'll take just a couple of questions. So there's a question from Neeta Agarwal. So she is asking how are the leadership skill sets required in uncertain times, because that is what your book is about, different from those needed from during stable times. What is the crucial difference between these two styles?
One curiosity to creativity. One curiosity to creativity. Third, adaptability. 3 things. This is Harvard research. This is IMK research. Now, how do you get all the 3? What is curiosity? Curiosity is the ability to keep your interests alive and agile. Minor changes happening. For instance, you want to evoke curiosity in your team, in the organization. Take them to an ice cream factory, something they may not have seen in their life. Ask them what they're seeing in the ice cream factory that mimics what has changed in the ice cream factory in the last 10 years, 15 years. You see what is happening in the ice cream factory is also happening in your organization, because these trends play out in multiple industries. So you can evoke curiosity in the organization by asking a question to your subordinates. So what is new today? So if Sunilji is asked the question by his boss, Sunilji, what is new today? Sunilji has to tell the boss what is new. Next day, boss asks the same question. So what is new? Sunilji has to notice something new. So you ask a person what is new. It may be, and what this question does is it opens your neural receptors to remaining curious. So if you ask your son, so what is new today? Oh, what is new? Oh, so I saw a man like that. So immediately he starts seeing things new in the world, right? So curiosity is one. And second is, you have to ask this question, how do you develop creativity? Creativity is, creativity is the ability to see a problem or a phenomena in multiple ways, not just one way. So how many different ways? So you have one way of doing this work. Instead of saying this is the only way, you say, well, which other way could you have done it? What are the 3 different ways the same thing could have been done? This is creativity. What is adaptability? Adaptability is moving beyond your current comfort zones to adapting to a new reality. For instance, you're used to coffee every morning. You just say, okay, I'll not have no coffee, I'll have only tea today. Or if you're with a friend who is used to coffee and you don't have coffee, you don't order 2 different things. You say, okay, I'll also have coffee with you. You're adapting to him, right? If you do this with your subordinate, imagine how the subordinate will feel. Tum vegetarian kha, to main bhi tumhare sath vegetarian khana kha. Immediately, people connect to people there. In childhood, we had this expression, same. People who wear the same clothes, they say same. And so adaptability means how do you go beyond your comfort zones to be able to. A lot of people don't like technology. I mean, it is not as if you don't like technology. You don't like the way technology is explained to you. Or I'm not good in mathematics. I mean, it is not true that you're not good in mathematics. You're probably not good in algebra or geometry because the way it was taught. So figure out what is it that you are not good. Why you're not good? You go behind the obvious, and then you will see you are able to adapt in so many different ways you cannot imagine. I'll give you one example and then I'll end with it. When Visa was discovered not discovered by D. Hock was looking at banks in those times, in 1970s. Banks were like huge buildings. They had collaterals. And because they had collaterals and they had rich customers, banks, it was impossible to get into a bank as an ordinary citizen. So D. Hock said, how do I make banking accessible to a lot of people? So he said, I'm going to give you a Visa card. What is a Visa card? Visa card is something that you can digitally imprint, and he says Visa card is democratization of banking because it allows entry of any normal person who can just tap in the card. He doesn't have to be an Ambani or a Rockefeller to stand before an ATM. He just goes to an ATM. If he has values, his value and trust, he can get money out of it. So he defined money as human energy impulse that can be alphanumerically coded on a plastic card, and these impulses can be transmitted from one continent to another, provided there are two things behind the transmission process. One is value, the other is trust. So how did he adapt to a new reality of banking? By redefining the fundamentals. What was money? Money was not currency. Money was human energy that could be coded alphanumerically. So in order to adapt, you need a philosophy. You need to read deep. You need to think deep. When I went as my freshly minted PhD in my rural Bengal, I heard a rural person who does not know what PhD is. He says, PhD kya hai? I said, I've got a PhD. PhD kya hai? I said, doctor of philosophy. He said, doctor, I understand. Philosophy kis kisam ka disease hai? I said, disease nahi hai, philosophy ek darshan hai. So in order to adapt, you have to be a darshan, which is bigger. What you call Patanjali darshan or Einstein darshan, even office darshan. You just don't look at the person. You look at the person and look at the process behind the person. You look at the context behind the person. A Kerala teacher is teaching students to draw the national flag. One kid is struggling to say whether saffron is at the top or green is at the top in the national flag. The teacher said, where are you from? I'm from Kerala. Oh, your mother gives you sambar rice on a banana leaf? Yes. First what comes? Banana leaf? Yes. Then on top of that rice, what is the color of banana leaf? Green. And then rice, white. On top of rice, sambar. What is the color of sambar? Saffron. Can you forget the color of the national flag? No. Why not? This is darshan. So darshan means going beyond your own autobiography to understanding the other in the context of the other. Once you do that, you can adapt. You don't know how to do that. You're stuck in your ego. Aapka ahamkar mein aap chha gaye. Aapko body, mind, intellect will behave like a cancerous cell. It will proliferate and it will kill the organism. Your family, your organization, your country. Ego will kill it. What will not kill it is darshan. That darshan is what our rishis give. That's why they're called seers, because they saw. They're called seers. Thank you. That will be all, unless there's another very critical question.
Yeah, so we are really getting out of time. Probably if you can answer the last question, which is from Rabindranath. He's
That's
asking, he is asking in a competitive world, humans always want to be ahead of others. If someone discards his ego, then how can he strive to be competitive? So you're talking about Nishkama Karma, but either Nishkama Karma is motivating enough. Probably that is what he's meaning.
Yeah, interesting. The question is, 99% of the world is about cooperation. Only 1% is competition. You look at the world around you. If there is no cooperation, there is no world. तुम जब breakfast खा के आते हो, breakfast कौन बनाता है? Soil से उगा के कौन लेके आता है? अनाज कौन लेके आता है? कौन आपका bread लेके आता है? You are a part of a nexus of collaborations. If there was no collaboration, you wouldn't reach office today. So if you see collaboration is 99%, competition is 1% of the universe. You can remain very, very competitive without competing with anyone else. Whom did we compete with? You know, when I came to IIM Kozhikode, I said, look, we are not competing with Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta. In fact, we'll do exactly the opposite of what they've been doing. In a competitive framework, you copy each other, right? But you see, you do exactly the opposite of what they're doing. What were they doing? They were arrogant. They said, we'll be very humble. Our students will not go to corporates with an ego and the chip on their shoulders. If they're doing this, we'll do that. You know, I was not the first one to do it. Before me, Deepak Jain did the same thing at Kellogg. He looked at Harvard graduates and said they were not investing enough time on communication. He said communication will be a major course in Kellogg. So he did what Harvard was not doing. So the way to build your credentials is to get out of the competitive fray occasionally, although you will always be part of the competition, to get out of the competitive fray and see there's a larger world beyond competition to which you belong. And if you go to that world, like Jawaharlal Nehru wrote a letter to Mrs. Gandhi, Indira Gandhi. He said, look, Indira, there are two kinds of people in the world. One who would stand in a queue for the reward, the other who will stand in a queue for the work. If you in the second queue, you'll be much more successful. Right? If the competitive friends is about standing in a queue for the reward, but if you are in a queue for the work, your competitive friends' age will increase automatically. People say, "Are yaar, kaam karta rehta hai, koi mangta nahi khud ke liye. Usko kuch dena chahiye." You see Mahendra Singh Dhoni on the pitch. How often does he go and stand with his with his chest out? When he doesn't, he stands behind, and you will see his calm, his temperament, something that you will watch. He's in a fiercely competitive cricket field, but you can see how he works. Look at PV Sindhu on the badminton court. She lost that gold medal match in the World Cup badminton Olympics, and the first champion was like with her, she was punching the air with her fist. PV Sindhu picked up the racket of her competitor who had won and gave it back to her, because that was and that gesture made her so much more endearing to everybody else. So the point is, even while you're in a competitive friends, you have another dimension that is around that competition. The more you recognize that dimension, you will still be competitive, but your competition will be of a different order, different reality. I'll end with a story, because my stories are always remembered, my theories are forgotten. So story is about two great artists of a kingdom, and one is a guru, the other is a shishya, like Tendulkar and Virat Kohli. So who is going to get the best artist of the millennial? And the king says, no, this can't be decided ordinarily. So there'll be a jury that look at the paintings of these two people. They will do a fresh painting for us. And these two paintings will be seen by the jury on two sides. So how will they paint? There'll be one room with two white walls on two sides. The room will be partitioned with a temporary partition. The guru will paint on the left. The shishya will paint on the right. And the jury will come after 7 days. They can't look at each other. They will look at the paintings of these two people and decide which one wins. So the two are painting, guru and shishya are painting on the two walls respectively. After a week, the jury comes. They open the right side of the wall, of the room where the shishya has painted, and the painting is so extraordinary. The followers of shishya says, "Oh, sir, he has to be given the award. Nobody can emulate this, not even his guru." So they look at his guru's painting, and they look at the painting, and their jaws have started to drop. Why? Because the guru has painted the identical picture with more dimensions. Same picture. So asked the guru, "How the hell did you know what he will paint?" He said, "I didn't have to know what he will paint. I did not paint anything either." So what were you doing all these 7 days? I was polishing my walls that it looks like a mirror. I always know that he's a great painter. I wanted the wall to look like a mirror, so whatever he paints will get reflected here. The reflection of greatness is what makes me great. This is darshan. There is no Arjun without a Krishna. There is no Alexander without an Aristotle. There is no Chandragupta without a Chanakya. One is action, the other is reflection. Once you reflect, your actions will be very great, but it will have a cooperative framework in which from your actions will be far more competitive than ever before. Are you with me? Do you see my point? When Tendulkar says, "I want to win the tournament for India," he's not saying, "I want to score 100. So you ask him, "How can you win the tournament for India? It is a game of 11 players." He said, "If I don't have the vision of India, then I'm only a batsman. Otherwise, I'm a bowler, a batsman, a fielder, a mentor to my juniors. I have multiple roles to play. And my dimension gets bigger and bigger away from the competitive frame." And so that is that. So you have to be why is there only one Tendulkar? Why is there one Virat Kohli? Because very few people understand the value of the cooperative universe around the competition. 99% of it is like that. So once you recognize that and you bring that knowledge, that darshan to your competition, you'll only get better and better and better. Narayana Murthy did the same thing. The Infosys, he shared the quality secrets to everybody. So he said, if the Bangalore pie grows bigger, India grows bigger, and Infosys also grows bigger. He shared secrets, trade secrets with his competitors, TCS and Wipro. His quality benchmark. What did he get out of that? He got a bigger piece of the bigger pie. The pie got bigger, right? That's how businesses are run in the 21st century. But thanks a lot for your attention. I appreciate that you were there for such a long time. I did not feel that I was not well. Your energy was so infectious, and I apologize to those whose questions have not been addressed. I'm available on LinkedIn whenever I have a chance to
Yes,
express.
yeah. So I will request all others who have questions to follow him on LinkedIn, and you will get absolutely beautiful, stories and anecdotes and wisdoms from those interactions. Thank you, sir. It's absolutely wonderful. Really, it was great that we could arrange such a program. And Priyanka, can you just wind it up?
Right. So thank you, sir. So we are getting a lot of messages and absolute praise, and participants are telling us that such a profound impact your words have left on them, and you've so kindly shared your contact details, sir. So we have also we are telling everybody to get in touch with you. For a longer association with yourself, sir, and your pearls of wisdom. An absolute honor to have you, sir. And like sir was saying, I think this is one such talk where we've had so many participants. We had actually crossed 1,000, and we had to, tell them that we'll probably not be able to accommodate you here. Maybe another time, maybe next time. So thank you so much, sir. Absolutely floored. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Menon, sir, we can log off.
Yes, we can log off. Thank you, everybody, for joining today's program. Thank you very much. Hopefully, we'll see you next time.